trying something new today. So this is I've been wanting to stand up and make a video for a while. So this is how we're going to try and roll this out. This is a one-person operation. Forgot my microphone stand today, but the goal here is what I'm trying to do in this next season is really tap into some of what made school great, and that was taking chances. Sometimes taking chances works. Sometimes taking chances is an utter and disastrous failure, and sometimes it's somewhere in the middle. But ultimately, what we're looking for here is not just focusing on losses, focusing on lessons. And so today I want to talk about this idea of what it means to be the example to your students. And so where this comes from is I think that there is this narrative in education oftentimes, narrative in life really, where we tend to, and I am no different, right? I'm not setting myself apart from anyone. We tend to focus on listing all of the limiting factors that stop us from being able to be who we're called to be. And so I was thinking about this the other day. We were hanging with some friends, and their daughter said to me, as we were just talking about school and stuff like that, I said, "How's the school year going?" She said, "We have this new sub in one of my classes, and it's really, really boring in there. All we do all day is just go on our computers and we complete assignments, and there's nothing else." And so to me, when I think of science, I think this should be one of the most incredible classes of the day, because science is all around us. And I start talking to her about she says, "Well, what would you do in this class?" And so I start talking to her about it. And I said, "Well, have you talked to your teacher?" And she says, "Yes, I have this one friend." Everyone has this one kid in their class, right? Where this friend says that she asked the teacher, "Why is this class so boring? Why can't we do anything fun?" And the teacher said, "It is not my job to make class fun." And to me, I can think of a number of classes I've had before where I've kind of felt like that. I felt like things were out of my control. They were out of my power. I couldn't do anything about it. But ultimately, I think what made me start really with this idea of how to teach my class off was that if it wasn't under my control, then I was powerless. And if I'm powerless, then I can't do anything. And so I want to offer you today is, what if it is your job to make class not just fun, but whatever it is that you want it to be? So I would like to submit this idea, right? Of, let's see if this is going to work. Yep. Being the example. So if we are the example for our students, then it is our job to do the things that are necessary to help us to get somewhere. So what does that look like, right? And this is how high tech we are in this. I have a notepad because I don't have my computer that I usually use as a teleprompter. But it's like this. I have one rule in my classroom, right? The only rule in my classroom is give respect. Trying to write fast and not neat. Get respect. So I have had folks ask me before, someone actually called me out on this one time, and they said, "How can this be it? It seems wrong. It kind of seems rude that you would the one rule you would have is that students have to give you something to get it back from you in return." And that's not right. It's not even what I'm talking about, right? And I'm glad that they brought that up, because I thought, how many other people have maybe thought this over time? What I mean is that this needs to be reversed. I give respect to my students first, and then my hope is that that's what I'm getting back from them. So I'm not trying to say I mandate children, I mandate that you give me respect before I'm going to give you anything back. I'm not even trying to do that. What I want to do is I give love in hopes that love comes back. But I don't even run my life off of whether or not I get the love back or whether or not I get respect back. My class I don't continue to give respect to my class just because they gave it back to me. That's just who I am. That's just who what my values are aligned with. And so it's really showing up as the best version of yourself, giving that best version of yourself so that you can then hopefully get that back from your students. But I'll tell you what, if you do that authentically, that is what you're going to get back 9 times out of 10. And so if I am thinking about how I might be able to do this, what I ultimately am also thinking of is that so one of my mentors that I had when I was younger said he had 2 rules in his class, right? So I really like minimizing, so I felt like I bested him because I only had 1. But his was be nice and work hard. That's it. So what does this mean? And how do we get kids to do this? If we have so I can't imagine a teacher that doesn't align with this, that wouldn't think being nice and working hard is actually, like, those are really great rules if you were going to only have 2. My question, though, and I thought of this when I thought of the substitute, and this is without any judgment. I don't know what this gentleman's life is like. I don't know what his situation is like at the school. I don't know what his limiting beliefs about himself or about his situation are. I say all of this without any judgment. What I would, though, offer is that if we want kids to be nice and to work hard, then we need to be nicer and work harder than any of our students. That if I want kids to give respect, that I have to give more respect than even I ever get back. I have to try to out-respect my students. I do this in my marriage all the time. My wife kind of knows that I do this, but I don't say it. I don't have a tally board, but I try to outlove my wife all the time. So I'm constantly doing small acts of love throughout the day that I know she likes, right? I'm not just trying to do stuff that I think, it's not like I'm making popcorn every day and she's like, dude, I don't even like popcorn, which isn't true, but I am trying to outlove her. And so when I think about what this might look like in class, how might I be nicer? How might I work harder? Many of you are already thinking that you already work hard. You work incredibly hard. And that to add something else onto your ever-growing to-do list is preposterous. And so what I would say, what my challenge would be, what I'm not asking you to do is work harder. Well, that really didn't work very well, did it? Don't work harder, work differently. And so this is why when I am, every single day, meet kids. I'm going to meet kids anyway. I could meet them I'm such a good drawer, aren't I? I could meet kids inside of my classroom as they're coming in, as I'm handing things out, as I'm trying to do stuff. Or I could just stand at the door. And even if you have a handout that you want to give the students, just stand at the door and hand it out. Or if you and that's a whole nother kind of training of how to start your first 10 minutes or so of class. But what I started doing was just meeting kids at the door, shaking everyone's hand, looking them in the eye, and just telling them hello. Or I'm glad to see you today. Or I really like your sweatshirt or your sweater that you have on. Or you cut your hair. And so it is looking to positively affirm someone as they're walking into my room, right? This is a way for me to I am the first. So how am I being nicer? I'm going to meet you at the door before you say anything, do anything. I'm going to meet you and I'm going to greet you with kindness immediately. And what this does, and I've talked about this many, many times, but it always bears repeating, is that we are looking to take kids that might feel invisible and let them know they're visible. My friend Neil Gupta often talks about what if you were the first person a child interacted with today? So when I think about my students, when I was in West Philly, I'd have students that mom was up and gone for work way before they even woke up that morning. So I have students that wake up in the morning, they get themselves ready, they feed themselves breakfast, they get on the bus that takes them to the train, that takes them to the bus, that takes them to the walk to school. This could be 2.5 hours between the time that you woke up to the time that you got to school. And even if it was an hour, the time doesn't really matter. The point here is that if a kid walks into school and there's no one there to greet them, there's no one there to say good morning, they maybe go down to the lunchroom or they go to homeroom, how long does it take a kid to hear someone say their name, to acknowledge their existence. And I think that that should be like from the jump. So in my class, the best that I can do is I'm going to meet you and say your name before you even walk in my room. I'm going to acknowledge you and compliment you and have something nice to say to you before you even walk into my room. So that's just one small way that I am trying to be nicer than my students are to me, or just to show up and be the example of what that is. And so if I think about working harder is a little bit different. That's maybe a different conversation. But another way that I try to show up for kids is I just think of myself as I try to occupy spaces that students are in, and then in those spaces, I'm doing a great job. I would love to know in the comments how much, no, you don't say how much you like my pictures, but I try to be a light. This is a horrible picture. I try to be a light in the lives of students. And so how do I do that? I read a quote one time, and I'm going to forget who it was by, that says, you are responsible for the energy that you bring into any room. So how can I show up into any social space that I'm in with students or with teachers, and I am being a light? So I'm not just standing in the hallway. I'm not just in the lunchroom. I'm not just standing at bus duty. And you see this all the time. And where like there's a playground full of kids, or there's kids leaving for the day and getting on the bus or leaving the school, and everyone's just kind of standing there like they're just waiting for kids to get out of here. And if that's you and that's how you want to be, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is something like education done differently. And so how can we be a light in those spaces? Yo, John, really great answer today in class. Susan, I really love the way that you like showed up today, or that you helped Mary with what she was doing. It is calling kids out, finding something small to acknowledge them, to acknowledge their presence, to say something kind to them, to compliment them on their shoes, whatever it is. It is building these relationships in these moments, but by just being a light wherever you are. You could be a presence somewhere, but let your presence be a presence to students. And so I think that those are two simple ways to kind of like meet kids where they are. And look, when we do these sorts of things, right, this is building relationships. This is going to lead to classroom management, will ultimately lead to classroom leadership, because you are showing kids you care. And it goes back to this old adage of no one cares what you know until they know that you care. And meeting kids where they are with things that they're interested in a way that is transformative to them. And so let me just check my notes here real quick. I think if this is not where you are, right? I think sometimes things are, for sure, school problems, right? And if this seems like more than you can handle right now, I think that what our focus should really be on is not so much school, right? I'm gonna say that you shouldn't be focusing on school. This might be a you thing. And I'm not even gonna say it's a you problem. But the question is, do you need to work more on you, right? And so how does that look? We're gonna talk about that in the upcoming weeks, but one of the things I wanna offer you right now is, what are you putting into your body? What are you putting into your mind? Are you showing up at school after listening to the news and how disastrous the world is, which is important? It's important to know what's going on in the world, but is that what I want to fill myself up with before I'm going into this space? Or am I listening to a song, a podcast, something that is filling me up? I'll be honest with you, even if I do look at social media in the morning, I have a separate social media profile that I only follow things that give me energy. It's like Good News Movement or Beige Cardigan or people that inspire me. So I'm never seeing drama. I'm never seeing nonsense. I'm never feeling a sense of comparison or pull, like I am like I'm competing with someone, or I see someone's whatever they're doing, it makes me feel less than. I'm only looking at folks that fill me up. And so that's, I think, one of the small things you can do. And then, of course, that's going to scale over time. And maybe that is looking at your diet, looking at your exercise, looking at whether or not you need to see like a counselor or a therapist or something of that nature. But that's a whole nother kind of training. So that's it for this Monday mini PD. Gang, I hope that you have the greatest week ever. And don't forget, we meet every Sunday now at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Sunday Night Teacher Talk. Show up, bring your friends, make an event out of it. And it is somewhere that you can, it's a safe space to ask any question that you have about this work that we all are doing or your life. And that's it, gang. We'll see you next week. Peace.